Nikola Gacesa was born in Windsor on December 6, 1959, to Milorad and Milka Gacesa. He was the youngest of 4 children, including 3 sisters, Snezana, Bozana, and Julka. He is currently a surveyor for Verhagen, Stuberfield, Hartley, Brewer, and Bizaire Incorporated.
Well, my parents were married in an area in Yugoslavia called Lika, the town of Gračac, a rural area. They were married at the age, I think my dad was 20, 1940s. 1940. He was married in 1940. I think he was 21, and she was like 18, 19. The war broke out like a couple weeks after their marriage. My dad was enlisted into the army and had to go off basically into Slovenia, which is quite a distance, and my mom was left at home. My dad fought 4 years of war, 5 years of war in Yugoslavia as a royalist, Chetnik. My mom basically had to stay home and raise one daughter at the time. When my dad left Yugoslavia in 1945, my mother was pregnant, was not able to leave with my dad, and had to stay behind, where she raised 2 daughters for 12 years after the war. My dad basically had to go to the displaced persons camps in Italy, Germany, and finally he arrived in England, where he worked as a miner. When he had the opportunity to come to Canada in 1951, he settled in the city of Windsor here. My mom was still left behind until he made an application for her and raised enough money for her to come to Canada in 1957. So my first sister, Snezana, he might have seen her as a baby for 2 years. Bozana, my second sister, he never saw for 12 years. Like, I mean, you know, for the time period that, you know, they were separated. And my mom, like I said, arrived in 1957. And at that time, they had another daughter, my sister Julka. And in 59, basically, I come along, the 4th child.
So tell us about your years growing up in Windsor then.
In Windsor? Well, what I really remember is our first home on Ferndale. I'm going to say it was my dad never completed it right from the start. It was like a asphalt-sided type of thing, you know. A nice neighborhood, you know, it was a lot of kids. I was kind of always gone. My mother always looking for me, you know. The funny part of it, she'd be always walking down the street, you know, yelling, "Nikola, Nikola, where are you?" You know, because I'd be. And as a kid, my dad even put a fence up in the backyard to try to keep me in.
Oh, gosh.
And I kind of found a way that I can roll underneath the fence and kind of scoot down. So that kind of life was, like I say, a lot of kids. We were in an ethnically type neighborhood, you know, had a mix of everything. Family life was, we were a tight-knit family. Like I say, I had 3 sisters, and they basically took care of me. The 2 older ones, you know, they were the real feeders of me, and you know, changing me and things like that, you know. So, and then there was a time period, there was like a lapse because there was such a big age difference between me, my sisters and me, you know, like they went off to school, so therefore it was just like, as a kid I noticed it just disappeared kind of thing. Where did they go? Me and my sister Julka, we were the closest. We still stay close together. I mean, you know, like I guess because of the age, 2 years separation. My sister Snezana and Bozana were more or less mother type figures also, you know, in my life. Windsor, we lived there till I think 1970, and when we moved out to the farm. My dad bought a farm. Well, my dad bought a farm prior in the 50s, in hopes that one day that we would all move out to the farm, because, you know, the rural life that he had in the old country he'd like to have kept here. We had, I think it was 75 acres. Public school out there, which was kind of different for me, leaving the city core type of thing, and then all of a sudden being out in the country, and my nearest neighbor was a mile away, and no kids in the neighborhood at all. But it was different in that my parents always found something for me to do. Like, I mean, it opened a whole new, how can I say, a perspective in life. I started driving tractors and things like that. So my time was, always taken up.
So your father worked on the farm then?
Well, he worked for N&D Supermarket. He was a manager of the N&D Supermarket. And this was a sideline type thing, the farm. And like I said, we raised pigs and chickens and like that type of thing. But in the 70s, that died out because the money was not in that business at all. So he decided, well, him and his partner and another gentleman to get together and build a golf course. And from the late 60s into the 70s, we worked on building a golf course. So, like I say, at 12, 13, my dad would fill up a dump truck for me, and I would drive it off and dump it up for creating these greens and tees and things like that. So, I could barely reach the pedal, but but in open fields like that, they weren't worried about me
I can imagine.
kind of slamming into trees and things like that. So. It was, we worked as a family hard. Like I said, I learned many things early in life, like from working on machines to driving a vehicle, from bulldozer backhoes to, dump trucks, and that got me involved into the construction area.
So I think that led you to become what your career choice is today, a surveyor?
Well, the funny part of it was we had a conflict between me and my dad at the time when I was graduating high school. And the story was that I had 3 choices for university. I didn't want to go to university. First of all, I wanted to go to St. Clair College. I wanted to finish a trade and, get to work as quick as possible. My dad's from, the old school, believes that you should get a proper education, which, today I'm grateful that he, he did. Said, well, you get an education first, and after that, we'll make a decision if you want to go to a trade and so on. So I said to my dad, I said, okay, I'll pick three schools. One was Windsor, one was Guelph. Windsor for business, Guelph for agriculture, and Toronto for surveying. I said, okay, I like surveying, I've been reading about it and so on, and if I get accepted there, I'll go. But the other 2, if I get accepted to those and I don't get accepted to Toronto, I'm going to St. Clair. And we finally made an arrangement, so on. So as the summer progressed along, first acceptance to University of Windsor, you're accepted. So I said, but that doesn't mean anything, Dad, we still got to get to the Toronto. So the second one came from Guelph, you're accepted. Well, my dad's, just chugging along. And the third one was funny. It was like 2 weeks before school, and I'm saying to myself, I might as well prepare for St. Clair College because I'm not getting accepted. It arrives in the mail. You're accepted.
Oh, gosh.
And my dad. So I'm off to University of Toronto for surveying. The thing is, I got interested in surveying from the aspect that it was always in the back of my mind. I wanted to do something outside with my hands type thing.
Right.
It was funny, even as a child when we were measuring out the golf course, my dad took me, I was like the rod man, carrying the rod. Him and another gentleman were measuring out to see if there was enough property for a golf course. So at the time it was all wheat fields, and I was just a little tyke carrying this little pole, walking through the wheat, and I got all cut up from the wheat thing. So by the time I came home, it was all red underneath the neck. So it stuck in my head, this type of business. But like I said, I went to University of Toronto, spent 5 years there. I took a year off in 1980. I went to Germany to basically work. My aunt owned a company in Germany, in Oberhausen, where I worked for more or less laying out canals and sewer lines and so on. It was very interesting, and yeah, had an opportunity. I was hoping to learn some German, but I ended up working with mostly Polish people and Hungarian people, so I didn't ever learn a word of German. And I was like grasping to learn Polish and Hungarian at the same time to get along with them. University of Toronto was an experience, like first time being away from home.
Yeah.
You know, especially for the family, where you're brought up, like you do everything up from the outside. The landscaping, cutting around the grass, and family women would take care of the inside. So it was like, now I have to cook, clean.
Yeah.
So it was a whole, even wash. I mean, good God, throw colors in together. I mean, everything, So it was an experience.
So what does a surveyor do then?
Well, my first aspect, what I thought was I'd be outside mostly working and so on. When I got into school, I found out, it's a desk job. Basically, if you do become a professional, you are, basically your obligation is to make sure that the way land is measured and so on is properly done by laws that are set out by the province of Ontario or the federal government with standards. You have people that work outside that are technicians and so on that basically bring you the information back in. You have people that are inside the office, such as people that calculate things to make sure everything fits mathematically. People that draft up a plan, and basically the Ontario Land Surveyor, who has license to sign for plans, basically makes sure that all these components are put together properly and signs the plan and basically sends it out to his client as a finished product. There are many different aspects for surveying. I mean, you have water, land, and land is broken down into many different areas, like for mortgage purposes, for making new plans of subdivision for new housing and things like that, to even pollution surveys, elevation surveys. There's so many different things. Even interior, when condominiums and so on, you have to make sure that every person knows what exactly he owns in the condo and he's responsible for paying or maintaining or things like that. So there's many different aspects that would be surveyors used for.
So the University of Toronto then offered an actual course in that field? University
of Toronto at the campus of Arundel, which is outside Toronto, it's in Mississauga, offers the course. It's a 4-year course. It's a Bachelor of Science in Land Surveying. It's a course that's kind of, it groups up all the different types of surveying, like from water to geodesy for measuring stars and things like that, to the land, and all the professors basically are at this university for this. There's only there's 3, I think. 4, sorry. The one in Quebec, one in Toronto, one in Calgary, and one in New Brunswick. They produce maybe about 40 or 50 surveyors a year. Well, not even that. In fact, maybe 20. Which after that education portion is done, they have to article for 2 years. Just like a doctor, and basically write their final professional exams. After you finish your professional exams, you're allowed to basically set up office.
On your own, or
on your own, or with someone. You hope to get into some company that maybe has been in existence for quite a long time, because there's a lot of goodwill with companies that are already in existence. Now, in my case, when I graduated in '84, the market was terrible. Terrible. You couldn't find a job. In fact, I went to my old boss, who here in the city of Windsor, Mr. Verhagen, and which I was working with him during the summers and so on. He couldn't even take me on, just as a part-time person, let alone sign you for articles when you sign a student to articles, you have to guarantee him 2 years employment and have him trained in all aspects of the surveying business. There's just no way. So basically, I had to go out and look for another job. I ended up working for a company here in the city of Windsor. It was called Bulk Food Warehouse. It was a franchise. The franchise was located here in Windsor. And I was there more or less like their policing officer type thing. I would go visiting from one franchise to another to make sure that all regulations are followed and things like that are all kept to the standards of the franchise agreements and so on. So I did that for about a year and a half. And I got a call from Mr. Verhagen saying, well, I can give you a part-time job. So it ended up a part-time job, pulled into a full-time job, but the thing is, there was such a lapse in period between my schooling and getting accepted to articles that I would have to go back to school. For just more or less refreshing and so on. And I never got the chance to do that, so I never really got my Ontario Land Surveyor's certificate. So I have my Bachelor of Science in Land Surveying. I work for a surveyor, but the only thing I don't have is the right to sign a plan. Which in some regards I look at, maybe as a blessing in disguise, because I see how the men work. I mean, the owners really work hard to try to even exist in this day and age, because the competition is very extreme.
Wow.
They take work home with them.
Oh, well then.
And, they take their headaches home too. And with me, thank God I have a defined job, which I take care of a certain area, and it's 8 to 5 for me, and that's it, and I'm gone home. But a lot of responsibilities put on me, because I'm like the person that's in management and not in management kind of thing. When management wants to talk to someone in the personnel, they come to me because I'm good with everybody there, and the same with the employees.
Right.
So I'm like a in-between man for the whole company. I take care of an area in the drafting, producing the final product, because as a client, when a client comes to order something, the final product is the only thing he really does see, and therefore he's when he looks at the product, that's what he's paying for, but he really doesn't realize all the other work that goes behind it. So we try to make it as presentable as possible, that he'll understand that there is a lot of work going into a plan.
Well, now with your involvement in the Serbian or Canadian community, tell us a bit about that.
Serbian community, like I say, I was my dad and mom were always family orientated. Therefore, religion was also a backbone in our family. I mean, we went to church regularly. I was brought up to the church school, Serbian choirs, Serbian sports. When it came to basketball, we had tourneys that were sponsored all over the United States, Canada, where our church basically sent us to meet with other kids and so on. At the age of 18, I became a member of the Serbian Orthodox Church here in Windsor, Serbia. Involved from day one. Like, I mean, it was not a, how do I say, a problem for me to get involved. It was just like, it was just not a second nature to me. It was just something that you went from step to step to step. Like I say, I got involved with the church board. I tried to help with the building of the church house. In fact, when it started. In fact, it just started when I went to university. Like, so basically, I was there for the laying of the floor and so on, things like that. And when it came along to this building, I even got involved. I was put as a member. First of all, when they started looking at the feasibility of building a building, and it happened in the first year that one of the gentlemen that was the chairman, Stevo Budimir, died. He was basically the man that tried to move everything along. Like I say, because of his ill fortune, that I was elected chairman of the building committee, and we finally got to a plan here for this building here with the museum and the hall and the expansion of the old hall and the church school and so on, and I had a big part and a big role in it. Like, again, it would seem like I was the person that tried to put all the groups together, you know. We all worked as a group, you know, and like kind of mediator always, you know. It's hard with Serbs to work with Serbs for one thing, especially when you work in groups. Everybody has their own ideas, and they're really not used to Canadian ways, you know. I remember our first meeting that I went to, this is before I was even chairman, it was like, we build a building, let's go ahead, let's do it, you know. No thought of building permits or things like that. It's just, the old school was, it's our property, let's do what we want to do, you know. So in that regard, there's a lot of education too with the, you know, working of the building of the new building. In fact, we had a good group of people, lawyers, other professionals that helped along, and common people. In fact, this building would not be, you know, would not have been built if it wasn't for the, you know, the common factory worker. You know, most of our donations were raised from the common people. You know, other involvement, like I say, my wife, when I got married, became a school teacher here of the Sunday school in the first year. We hope to bring our daughter up the same way. I mean, it didn't hurt us, so we figure, you know, we hope that we can bring her up in the Serbian Orthodox tradition and, you know, our Serbian values and things like that. Yeah.
So now tell us about your family.
Like in 1986, I was married in August to a girl from the United States that I met, like I say, from all these little tournaments that we have and so on through the years. We knew each other, and in fact, when it came time for me, I thought, oh, it's time to get married. I mean, you know, everything else is set in life, you know. And Christina was always in my mind for years. Like, so I thought, well, let me give her a call and see what she's doing. And basically, hopefully through a friendship and so on, that you know, within the year, it happened out that we got married, basically. And good. It's been great for us, you know. Yelena came in 1990, 89, sorry, September 89. And we live here, reside in Windsor, and my wife works in the United States as a teacher. So it's good.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well then thank you very much.